Our next game features Kentucky, the 3 seed in the Midwest, and Troy, the 14 seed. Troy winning the Sun Belt, Kentucky getting an at-large out of the SEC. Kentucky, obviously, like a bit up and down. They've had some massive wins this year, but also they've shown their fair share of issues, and more so the second half of SEC play where they've been extremely banged up. Right. I mean, Lamont Butler's been in and out a bunch with a shoulder injury. Jackson Robinson out for the year now with a wrist injury. Kirk Reese has been out basically all of SEC play. They've been super banged up, especially at the guard position. So this team probably hasn't exactly had the season it had hoped for. Definitely not the season that people expected. But they've still made the most of it sitting here at a 3 seed. To me, I felt like they were a bit overseeded considering the injuries. I kind of felt like they should maybe be on like a 4 or 5 line, but they do have a strong resume that they built up early in the season. So I can't really hate on the committee for giving them a 3 seed.
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit weird that they ended up getting a 3 seed just from how their season played out, especially in the second half of conference play. They lost a lot of games that they probably shouldn't have lost. I mean, after that road win at Tennessee, they ended up losing at home to Arkansas on Calipari's return. Lost to Texas. They were banged up there. Lost to Ole Miss as well, and Vandy. Not terrible losses, but it just felt like they didn't really play all that well down the stretch of the season. And you can credit the injuries for that, but yeah, just the resume that they built in non-con seemed to be impressive enough for them to get a top 3 seed.
Yeah. So this game's interesting, right? Just looking at the statistics, Troy's a team that loves to shoot the 3. However, they're a pretty terrible 3-point shooting team. They're 339th in the country in 3-point percentage, but they're 57th in the country in 3-point rate. So, clearly they're sending a message that they just want to get up a bunch of threes. I guess they maybe watch the Celtics or something and like the Missoula ball, just jack a bunch of threes regardless of who you are. I don't know, but they do get all over the offensive glass. Granted, that is in the Sun Belt, but they're 6th in the country in offensive rebound rate, 38.6. But I don't really know if that's going to be as successful here against this Kentucky team, kind of led by Amari Williams on the defensive glass, right? Kentucky's 25th in the country in defensive rebound rate. So I don't know as if it will be quite the same for Troy in that department against this Kentucky team.
Yeah, I mean, Troy is definitely a team that values getting on the offensive glass, and I think part of it is when you take a lot of threes, there's going to be long rebounds available, and that's a good way to be able to generate offensive rebounds off of a long miss off the rim. So, but Troy does have a lot of athletes, and they're physical up front. They have 4 guys on this roster that have an offensive rebound rate over 9.5%, which is 9.5% is a pretty good number for an offensive rebound rate. And they have 4 of them. So definitely a lot of weapons in that area in the front court. And to have the more athletic, more physical team against the power conference team, I think that kind of gives you a leg up. But overall, I mean, Kentucky's scheme does allow them to do really well on the defensive glass. Like you said, led by Amari Williams. Now they have a healthy Andrew Carr, and Brandon Garrison as the backup big is always something to have in your back pocket there. So I think they're going to be okay on the glass. I don't think they're going to get crushed by a Sun Belt team necessarily in that area. But Kentucky, it's a really conservative defense, and I don't know how well that serves them in this game against a Troy team that turns the ball over at a 19.9% rate, which is 330th nationally. So Troy might feel pretty comfortable here, but the fact that they don't have great dribble creators in this game, Tate Connerway is kind of their guy on the offensive end, but he's not necessarily a talented jump shooter, and he's probably going to be forced into being more of a scorer in this game rather than a facilitator. I think that kind of bodes well for Kentucky, a team that likes to take away spot up opportunities and force dribble creation. And that's kind of the two areas that that Troy really wants to create values through the spot up game, through their ability to take a bunch of threes and create their upside there and get on the offensive glass. But Kentucky can take those things away and force them to play a completely different style. So ultimately, I think Kentucky's going to be okay if Lamont Butler is healthy. I mean, he doesn't seem like he's going to be completely healthy for this game, and they don't have really any point guard depth outside of him. Hopefully, Kirk Reese is surprisingly back. I mean, he was supposed to be back a month ago, and I just haven't heard anything about him. So I have to assume he's done. But I mean, if I see a healthy Lamont Butler or fairly healthy Lamont Butler and he's on the floor for 25 to 30 minutes, I think they'll be okay here. But it is a scary matchup overall, just with Troy's physicality.
Yeah. Luckily for Kentucky, I think in this one, Jack Golke's not on the other side in this 3-4 team matchup. Looks like it should be a little bit different this year. And no Coach Cal on the sidelines. So, the bad luck he's brought them over the last few years between that one last year and St. Peter's a few years ago. Doesn't seem like that'll be the case here.
No, they should be okay. And like Coach Cal, I mean, Jack Golke found a way to get open catch and shoot opportunities in that game, even after he already made 4 or 5 threes. Like it's just a Coach Cal disaster class, or just the guard defense of Kentucky just being really bad that year. I don't really think Coach Pope is gonna make the wrong decisions in that area, and there's nobody from Troy that's really gonna kill you from 3. Albeit, I guess they could get hot with the amount of attempts that they take. But Kentucky's defense, for the question marks that it's had, I think is in a decent spot here, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Kentucky does defend 3 well, right? They're 28th in the country in 3-point percentage defense. So that bodes well for them against a team that already doesn't shoot the 3 well and shoots a ton of them. So if Kentucky can limit them on the glass, definitely expect Kentucky to win this one. But we're going to take Kentucky here to take down Troy and move on to the second round to face whoever they get out of that Illinois and whoever wins the play-in game.